Microsoft Teams is included with all the Microsoft 365 plans. You get it, it's there available out of the box. So there's certain things we can do straight away just by virtue of having Microsoft 365. We can then layer in Teams voice as well, and I'm going to just go into a bit more detail on that in a moment on what that distinction is. But essentially, to simplify things, we can bring our collaboration, we can do our instant message type chat with a colleague or a group of colleagues, we can video conference, we can bring in our traditional telephony all into that one place. And simplicity and great user experience are absolutely at the heart of that. And that's what I want to dive into now to give you a better flavor for what this actually looks like as an end user. So within Teams, you have a degree of calling already. We can make Teams to Teams calls. And that's baked in, as I mentioned, that's part of Teams that comes with your Microsoft 365. So we can make and receive those calls internally, and we can, say straight out the box. When we bring in Teams voice as well, what we're actually bringing in there is our traditional PSTN calling. So whereas historically you may have used something like Skype internally for your instant messaging, you'd have then had a separate platform for your telephony. We do it all in one place. So Teams is it's your one-stop shop, your single pane of glass. You're making your calls in the office, out on the road. So within Teams, the interface has been designed to be really user-friendly and simple to use. So if I just want to make a Teams to Teams call, so perhaps to a colleague, I simply search for him in Teams. I could send him an instant message chat, but if I want to call him, we literally have our two buttons there, straight again next to my contact, video or voice call. It's as simple as that. Now, what you might notice on this screenshot is that little, next to George's avatar, that little red circle there with a little line. So what we also have in Teams is presence information. And if you've used things like Skype previously, then you'll be somewhat familiar with this, and this carries forward into Teams. So we can set ourselves to be available, busy. It would note if we're in a call, do not disturb, and that's then reflected so other people can see. The other version is, of course, calling or PSTN calling or standard telephone calls. We need to dial a phone number. And again, in that simplicity vein, if I want to dial a phone number and we've enabled Teams voice, then we get an extra button on our left rail, the calls button. And all that really does is gives us a dial pad. Otherwise, we're in Teams still. So if your users are used to using Teams internally, adding in Teams voice, and this is a top question we get a lot, is what is the big difference? What happens when I add Teams voice in? Does it make it a lot more complicated? Does Teams change? No, fundamentally, not to any degree worth talking about. All we get is the calls button, which gives us access to our dial pad. So what does this actually look like? Again, simplicity, and I'm going to keep banging on about it this morning, but it's so important for our users. So if I make a call voice only, Teams to Teams, this is it. We get our voice window come up. Because I'm in Teams, I have some controls at the top there, so I can mute, I can share content if I was working together and collaborating with a colleague. If I switch that to a video call, then we have video. And again, this call window is fairly much the same. You notice the bar at the top, the controls didn't change. So I can flick between voice and video very quickly. We have our participants button at the top, so I can even add other colleagues into the call if we needed to. So what happens though if I make a PSTN traditional phone call? Again, fairly similar. As you can see, that is a fairly similar window to what we had before. It dials the number. The only real difference is that we don't have some of the things like the share options and add other users in there that we had at the top on our control bar. Because we're making a traditional phone call, so our functionality is a little more limited. But I can now dial out. That will present my phone number out. So the caller ID on the recipient's phone will show my phone number, my direct dial, and yeah, they can then take that call, and we make the call through Teams. And I'm barely scratching the surface of some of the Teams voice capabilities. Of course, we can set up call groups or hunt groups as they're traditionally known, and various auto attendants as well. So if you need options for the front of your office, again, we've got things we can do. We've got options available to us around that as